Racist cop Tases a black woman in court. He had no idea she was the judge overseeing his fate. The courtroom door slammed open, and Officer Daniel Hargrove stormed in, his boots echoing like gunfire. He didn't see a judge, just a black woman in a robe who, in his mind, didn't belong. Hargrove's eyes burned with contempt as he raised his taser, the crowd gasping in unison. "You don't tell me what to do," he barked, his voice slicing through the stunned silence. The woman, Judge Amara Thompson, stood unflinching behind the bench, her dark eyes locked on his. She was no stranger to hate, but this was a new low. The taser's red dot danced on her chest, a symbol of a world that too often saw her skin before her title. Moments earlier, Hargrove had been called to testify in a brutality case, one where he'd left a young black man battered in an alley. Amara, presiding over the case, had pressed him hard, her questions sharp and unrelenting. She'd seen his kind before, men who wore badges like crowns, wielding power without accountability. Hargrove's temper flared when she denied his lawyer's motion to dismiss, his face reddening as he muttered slurs under his breath. When she ordered him to sit, he snapped, storming toward the bench, taser drawn, as if her authority was a personal insult. The courtroom erupted in chaos. Spectators shouted, some pleading, others cursing. A bailiff lunged forward but froze when Hargrove's taser swung wildly. Amara's heart pounded, not from fear but from the weight of the moment. She was 42, a daughter of immigrants who'd fought for every inch of her career. She'd faced racism in school, in law firms, even on the bench, but never like this. Her gavel, gripped tightly, felt like an anchor to her resolve. She would not cower. "Officer Hargrove," she said, her voice steady as steel, "you will lower that weapon, or you'll face consequences you can't imagine." Her words carried the weight of years spent proving her worth in a system stacked against her. Hargrove sneered, his finger twitching on the trigger. "You're nothing but," he started, but the courtroom's collective gasp drowned him out. Amara's mind raced. She thought of her father, a janitor who'd taught her to stand tall, her mother, who'd worked double shifts to fund her education. She thought of every black kid who'd ever been profiled, every person who'd been judged by their skin instead of their character. This wasn't just about her, it was about them. "Last chance," she warned, her gaze piercing. Hargrove, blind to her authority, laughed a cold, guttural sound. He fired. The taser's prongs shot forward, but Amara, with a reflex honed by years of navigating danger, ducked behind the bench. The prongs hit the wood, sparking uselessly. The crowd roared, some cheering, others screaming for order. The bailiff tackled Hargrove, pinning him to the floor. His taser skidded across the polished wood, a symbol of his unraveling. Amara rose, her robe slightly askew but her dignity intact. She banged her gavel, the sound cutting through the chaos like a blade. "Order," she commanded, and the room fell silent, every eye on her. Hargrove, now cuffed and red-faced, glared up from the floor. "You can't do this," he spat. Amara leaned forward, her voice low but resonant. "I am the law here, officer, and you just assaulted a judge." The weight of her words landed like a verdict. The trial that followed was swift. Hargrove's badge, once his shield, became his shackle. Evidence of his history, racial slurs, excessive force, complaints buried by a complicit system piled up. Amara presided with unshakable fairness, though every fiber of her being burned with the memory of that taser aimed at her heart. The jury, diverse and attentive, saw through Hargrove's defenses. Guilty on all counts: assault, misconduct, and a career's worth of prejudice laid bare. As Hargrove was led away, his eyes met Amara's one last time. There was no defiance left, only the dawning realization of his fall. Amara felt no joy, only a quiet resolve. She'd won, not just for herself but for every person who'd ever been dismissed, dehumanized, or doubted because of their skin. That night, alone in her chambers, Amara traced the scars of the day not on her body, but on her soul. She thought of the handwritten sign she'd seen in the courtroom, scrawled on a wooden plaque by an anonymous supporter, "Justice tested in court." It wasn't just a slogan, it was a truth she'd lived. Justice wasn't a gift, it was a fight. And she'd fight it every day, gavel in hand, for as long as she wore the robe. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.